guys, how you doing today? This is Dave Vaughan coming to you from our home here in South Wales. I'm at a beautiful place today called Langdegford Reservoir, which is an awesome fishing spot. It's amazing. I just love being here. I'm just up on the mountain with the sheep full of glory, enjoying my union with our precious, precious Lord. I thought I'd send out just a short video where I want to chat to you about our up and coming mission trip to the Philippines, and we're going to have an absolute blast. And you need to watch this video all the way through, because at the end we have a word from our sponsors who have kindly offered to come on and just say a few things. Such good boys, such good boys. So I'm here today just enjoying life, just enjoying my union with our Lord. We get accused of many things, just because we began to enjoy, this pleasure that Jesus created for us called the world. He created Adam and Eve and he stuffed them right in the middle of this garden called Eden, which means voluptuous living or pleasure. And his desire for Adam wasn't that he would be a slave, but that he would just enjoy the glory of sonship. That every day he would just enjoy being who he was, And he created this thing called the world. And he stuffed the world full of pleasure for Adam to enjoy. Pleasure isn't a bad thing. Pleasure is a really good thing. The only thing that's wrong with pleasure is when it becomes corrupted. And suddenly, we try and find the pleasure that God has for us through these means that, were never created by God for us, for our pleasure or our enjoyment. But there's nothing wrong with living a pleasurable life. As a matter of fact, God is most glorified with us when we're most satisfied in him. When we begin to enjoy the pleasures of life, when we begin just to enjoy, the fountain of glory that's all around us every single day. I'm beginning to understand, that as I rest and enjoy my union with the Lord, that I can find pleasure in so much that seems to be so small and so insignificant. There are times where, in my walk with the Lord, where I thought there had to be something so explosive that would happen. There had to be some mass crusade. There had to be some crazy miracle or some supernatural act that would somehow give me a gratifying pleasure, because that's what God's like. God's full of this, big bombastic, life that, if I'm really to enjoy him, then somehow it's got to be totally sensational and supernatural. And I know that God is a supernatural God and we're supernatural beings. But what I'm beginning to learn, just as I grow in the rest and grow in my union with the Lord, is that God very often is just so interested in the things that we seem to think are insignificant and unpleasurable. It's amazing, when you get new eyes and the scales begin to fall away and you realize that the small things that we walk past every day are the things that could give us intense pleasure. There's not one single sparrow that falls from the ground and he doesn't know about it altogether. God's the greatest voyeur ever. I mean, he just watches over creation. He gets jacked up on the small things that we just fail to see significance in a daily basis. And sometimes the things that we think are a big issue for God, or that God gets great pleasure out of, he's not even bothered about it at all. He's not interested in it whatsoever. It amazes me that the word responsibility isn't in the Bible. God took that word clean out. Rest and responsibility do not go together. He took it upon himself. While we were yet aliens from God, while we were yet powerless to help ourselves, while we were sinners separated from him, he took responsibility upon himself. While we were far off, while we were not even close to him, he came down and did something for us. He came as us, for us, and he did what we could never do. What the law could never do because of the weakness of the flesh, Christ did. He did what we could never do, And it's amazing that, that whole responsibility, that whole word responsibility has been taken out. He is the response of the Father. The Father gave, an appeal, and Jesus said, I'll do it. I'll go as them and for them. He took away our effort. He took away our ability to be able to do what we could never ever do. It was almost like we were powerless to help ourselves. So he responded on our behalf through the incarnation. He did what we could never do. It's so amazing, that people get so angry with us because we don't take this Christianity responsibly enough. We're not out doing things on a daily basis. Well, I've just learned that, he created me to enjoy life. And the more I seemingly am enjoying the rest and enjoying life, the more I'm encouraged by the glory of what he has done. The more I realize that I can do nothing to add or complement anything to what he has done already for us, with us, around us continually. The more I realize that, the more I enjoy life, the more I seem to see the glory of God breaking out on a daily basis. I seem to see the glory in everything around me. I seem to be able to interact with glory more and more. I seem to be enjoying a pleasurable existence right here on planet Earth. But people say, oh, that rest that you're enjoying is an inactive rest. It's got to be more activity. Well, some of you would have read this book here, The Practice of the Presence of God. I love this book. Brother Lawrence was just a jacked up monk that, just knew what it was to just walk out a pleasurable existence. He gave himself to the presence of God. Prayer for Brother Lawrence was what he called the practice of the presence. And he said it took about a year for him to get so jacked up, practicing the presence of God, that he didn't have to practice it anymore. The focus wasn't on the practice. It wasn't on some religious activity. It was actually on the presence. And then he said he lived 40 years of uninterrupted whack, 40 years of uninterrupted bliss. That was his portion. I'm going for 400 years. We'll see what we can do with 400 years. But Brother Lawrence also got accused of inactivity. And I just want to read a little portion of this book. He says, at other times when I apply myself to prayer, I feel all my spirit, all my soul lift itself up without any care or effort of mine, and it continues as if it were suspended and firmly fixed in God as in its center and place of rest. I know that some charge this state with inactivity, delusion, and self-love. He was getting accused of the same stuff. I confess that it is a holy inactivity and would be a happy self-love if the soul in that state were capable of it. Because in effect, while she is in this repose, she cannot be disturbed by such acts as she was formerly accustomed to, and which were then her support, but which would now rather hinder than assist her. Yet I cannot bear that this should be called delusion, because the soul which thus enjoys God desires herein nothing but Him. If this be delusion in Him, in me, it belongs to God to remedy it. Let Him do what He pleases with me. I desire only Him, and to be wholly devoted to Him. That's amazing. Brother Lawrence was being accused while he was in this state of bliss of it being a holy inactivity. Can I just say, this is the holy inactivity that causes the glory of God to manifest all around us. I had 1 month intoxicated by God back in about 2007. Then in 2008, I had 3 months where I was just let out in the glory of God, enjoying God. And I had so many people getting angry that I was enjoying this union, thinking that somehow I had to be running around, that this was a holy inactivity. And yet off the back of it, we had the biggest national newspaper in the UK come to our last Slosh Fest. They wrote an amazing double-page article, The Holy Ravers Who Get High on God. And then Big Brother kicked off the back of that. And, every day, about 5 million people watched as I just got hammered drunk in the Big Brother house, and the love of God just broke out. And then off the back of that, I had 30,000 followers on Twitter in like a couple of days. I had 5,000 followers on Facebook almost straight away. I mean, so many people were messaging me. I had 2,000 to 3,000 people message me in just a week, asking me, like non-believers asking me, how can we get filled with this same intoxication? If I had a church in my area and the pastor was like you, I would come. So it doesn't seem now to be foolish when we've traveled all around the world and we saw the glory of God breaking out and we've seen this holy inactivity just bless so many people. I want to encourage you guys today to enjoy the rest. We strive to enter into the rest. There's nothing foolish about this rest. As a matter of fact, the only issue that God had with the children of Israel is that they refused to enter into the rest. This rest is faith. This faith is substance. The rest speaks that we can do nothing to add or complement to the glory of what Christ has done. That is faith. That rest, that faith produces what we could never produce of ourselves. It's not about our efforts to produce fruit. It's about the fact that as we rejoice in His efforts, the fruit of His labors begin to manifest effortlessly in our life. This is easy. C.S. Lewis said Christianity is either totally impossible or it is the easiest thing ever. I choose that it is easy. His yoke is easy. It's easy, and His burden is oh so light. I want to encourage you guys to join us in the Philippines. This has been another venture that has come out of the rest. We had a heart to see God manifest among the poor, didn't know how to do it. How do you suddenly start operating with the poor? How do you suddenly start building children's homes? I mean, we needed God to do everything because we realized that it was all about Him and not about us. Then suddenly someone who who got paid $90,000 for some land in the Philippines, decided to give us some land in the Philippines. And then off the back of that, all the money came in to build our first children's home. About $15,000 or more came in to build our first children's home. And our first children's home is now built in the Philippines. Then off the back of that, I had a meeting with a couple of business people a few weeks ago I hadn't seen for years, and they pushed £4,000 pretty much across the table to me and said, we want to cover your entire first year's fees for the children's home. So before we've even taken a child off the garbage dump, before we've even taken a child from the slums and put them in our new children's home, we have the land, we have the children's home built, and now we have the first year of fees totally paid for, and it's all come out of our place of rest. We're so excited. You know, we're taking a team to the Philippines in September, the 17th to the 24th of September. We want you guys to be on board. Join us in the Philippines. I mean, we're extending the deadline for this. The applications and full payment have got to be in by the 17th of August. So you've got just another couple of weeks to join us on this trip. We're going to be going into the garbage dumps. We're going to be going to the slums. We're going to be going into the prison houses. We're going to be just taking the whack right into the heart of Manila, right into the heart of Cavite. We're going to be going to our children's home. We're going to be meeting some of the children that we're going to be giving a home and a family to. That is absolutely amazing. And we want you to join us. We want you to be there with us right on the mission field. You get a chance to preach. We're going to do like a feast right there on the garbage dump. We're going to be doing like a 2-day conference where we're just going to be preaching the finished works. And this is the cool thing. I'm actually going to be arriving straight off the back of going to South Africa for like 2 weeks, where I'm going to be hammered drunk in South Africa with Cobus van Rensburg's family and some other people at a pastors and leaders conference. I'm going to be jacked to the max. There are going to be people there from the UK, from New Zealand, from the Philippines, from all over America. Check out our website, thenewecstatics.co.uk. Join us there in the rest, in the Philippines, and let's see the fruit of his labors for once, not our labors. We're not going to boast in our labors. We're going to boast in what he is doing in our day and in our hour. I love you guys so much. Keep tuned right now because we've got a special word from our sponsor. I love you guys. Check out our website. Fill out the application form. Get your money to us by the 17th of August. I love you so much. Bye-bye.
More strength, more power, more strength, more power, more strength. Hello, little boys and girls. Percy here, Persecution. Just doing a little workout, just regaining a little bit of momentum, getting back a little bit of power, a little bit of authority. A little problem a little bit 2,000 years ago where this guy called Jesus the Christ, also called the Messiah, came and he took back some keys that I took from this guy called Adam right in the beginning, where I infiltrated his thoughts and I got into his mind and I managed to bring down humanity and steal them of all power and all authority. Then this guy called Jesus the Christ came and he disarmed all my princes. He took all power from my authorities. He came as the Son of Man, and he destroyed my works and he left me void and empty of all power and all authority. So for 2,000 years I've been working hard at regaining a little momentum, taking back a little power and a little authority. And what I've been doing is I've been infiltrating the thoughts of the church, and I've been trying to get into their thinking and helping them to realize that they've got no power, they've got no authority, that really I'm the one that took all that. But anyway, there's this bunch that call themselves the New Ecstatics, and I work for them on a daily basis, and I whip up for them what they call a greater weight of glory. They all talk about the glory. It's all the glory, the glory. They even got this guy called Andre Rabi. And apparently he doesn't know anything about the glory, but he goes around and he's like, oop, glory, oop, glory. All want to talk about the glory. And now they're taking a trip to the Philippines where apparently they're going to see more glory and they're going to experience more glory. But I just want all you out there, and I've got into your thinking already, and you already decided you're not going to sign up for this trip. I want to thank you, my little ones. I want to thank you that you've taken on board my thoughts and my illusions. I want to thank you that you're not going on this trip to experience this greater glory, this glory. You're not going to go, you're not going to experience that glory. I want to thank you, and I want to know that You to know that I'm going to come for your friends and your family, and I'm going to make sure they don't sign up either. None of you are going to experience the glory. Anyway, this is Percy. Leave me alone now anyway. I want to get on with my workout. I got a bit more power, a little bit more authority, a little bit more power, a little bit more authority, a little bit more power.